Hi there, I'm Joey.
I'm Jacob.
And there's a fly in the house, but we're watching Star Trek for the first time! Last time on Star Trek, we went on the search for Spock's brain, and it was pretty fucking terrible.
It was not a good episode.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. But today we're watching an episode called The Enterprise Incident.
The Enterprise? Is this when Starfleet finally comments about all of the crazy shit that James Kirk always talks about?
I hope so. I really hope so. I hope these guys just come in and are like, Kirk, seriously, man, what the fuck? Anyway, we're going to see what this is all about. We're going to get into post-episode thoughts in a second. Be sure to join us then. We're about to watch The Enterprise Incident. So, I was aware that Season 3 was supposedly not very good. And I feel like, given the last episode and this one, we saw the worst and best, potentially, that this season has to offer.
I have the very strong feeling every episode is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. But this was, not only just a great episode in general, might just be one of my favorites of the whole show.
It's top. It's up there.
Yeah.
It's definitely up there.
And others seem to agree. This is our first Season 3 episode on our top 10 lists from Wikipedia.
I thought there was I thought there would be at least one or two from the lists, if I remember rightly.
So coming in at number 10 on Hollywood.com, number 9 on Entertainment Weekly, and number 5 on Newsweek. It's pretty well liked, I'm pretty sure, if this is anything to go by, and for good reason, because, damn, I loved this.
It was a good episode.
Yeah. We've had quite a few teases of Romulans showing up again throughout the show, but they never actually show them. We've had episodes where the Romulans have straight up shown up, and we just see their ships, and then that's it.
Yeah.
But here we actually have them back. The cousin race of the Vulcans are finally returned, and
the less logical cousin race.
Yeah, and I don't know. I really like the way they're portrayed in this. I think I prefer their portrayal in Balance of Terror, but I did love the commander here. She's really interesting. She doesn't get an actual name. Well, she does have a name, and they actually draw attention to it, but only for one scene, and you never actually hear it.
We don't hear it. It's supposed to be this big, intimate secret.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know. First off, Shatner gets to do some weird shit in this episode.
Yeah.
Early on. He gets to act really erratic. So much so to the point where, it's not just Spock. I hadn't actually thought about it until just now. Spock doesn't make the log at the beginning. It's McCoy. Because McCoy's the one that's not on the planet.
Yeah, he's making a medical log,
and
obviously.
He's Kirk's acting fucking weird. And you see that immediately. He's being really weird.
He's shouting at literally everyone on the command deck.
Yeah, he steers the Enterprise into Romulan space. They're immediately caught. Kirk and Spock go to meet with the Romulan commander. And in this really great scene, actually, where it's one I kept going back to in my mind throughout the rest of the episode as we learn more about what Kirk and Spock were up to. Mm-hmm. I think it's a really smart scene because, as they point out once again early on in the episode, but it's something you need to be reminded about every now and then, is that Spock can't lie.
Yeah.
So I kept thinking about the way that he worded what Kirk was doing to the Romulan commander, which I thought was really, really smart.
And I'd like to point out, it's part of the whole trick and setup that Kirk's supposed to be acting erratic, but he is not also lying when Spock goes, he did it of his own free will.
Yeah.
And Kirk goes, "You liar!"
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. I really love that. They throw Kirk in a cell. He goes to attack Spock, and Spock it's one of the only times the show has been really self-aware about how stupid something they say sounds,
Yeah.
He's like I acted instinctually. I used the Vulcan death grip, and we both started laughing. And I was like, okay, well, I'm sure it was a trick. I'm sure Spock didn't actually use a Vulcan death grip. And then to learn even later on, there's no such thing as a Vulcan death grip. Right. He just grabbed his face.
So much so, the Nurse Chapel knows there isn't a Vulcan death grip.
Yeah. Actually, there was she wasn't in it much, but I did like the couple Chapel scenes we got in this. And actually, it's our second episode in a row with a complete crew, which is really nice. So,
I get the feeling that'll happen more often.
Yeah. There were more sets here than there were back in Spock's brain, but still pretty limited, I would say.
Right. Definitely compared to the rest of the show.
I would say also something I hadn't considered is we're probably going to be cutting back a lot on location shooting.
Probably
going to be a very studio-bound show for a remaining only 22 episodes. 22 episodes left of the show. But yeah, Yes, so we use the death grip. Kirk wakes up. They do this surgery on him to make him look like a Romulan, which we had actually seen in the credit images from the last episode.
Yeah, and we're both like, oh, can't wait to see what that's about.
Yeah, I'm glad we got a payoff for that so soon. But yeah, so he disguises one of the Romulans. He puts on their clothes and everything.
Because when they beamed over, they sent over 2 guards.
Yeah,
and they're prisoners.
Mutually assured destruction and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
So they take their clothes. I kind of like the idea that they just didn't give the guy any replacement clothes, and one of their 3 Romulan prisoners by the end of the episode is just naked.
Or has underwear on, at least.
Yeah. Do Romulans use underwear?
Is it the George Lucas idea of no underwear in space?
No underwear in space. The Romulan commander did change very fast into that dress.
That is true.
Just saying. But yeah, so while all this is happening, Spock is growing very close with the Romulan commander. We get some really interesting things here. We know that the commander wants the Enterprise for herself. And during all this, as they're doing the surgery on Kirk, I forgot to mention this earlier, we learned that Starfleet sent out Kirk and Spock on this mission to steal this cloaking device from the Romulan ships.
With Kirk being the fall guy, if it goes south.
Yeah, exactly. Which I don't know. I really love that. And actually, we kind of joked at the start that it would be Starfleet, investigating Kirk's crazy shit, but they're using the fact that Kirk is probably one of the more reckless Starfleet captains to their advantage.
Right.
Which I really love.
His reputation actually preceded him.
Preceded him. But yes. Yeah, I don't know. I love that. I love that idea. So Kirk steals the thing, as Spock is growing very close with the commander. And something that I kept in mind throughout that whole scene is, once again, the idea that Spock can't lie. And going back to that, what was it, Brendan Sarkis's last season, with the whole scene between McCoy and Spock about how you're afraid to actually feel something because you want to deep down. I kept that in mind during this scene, because I was like, he's probably not lying. He probably actually is starting to care for this woman.
Because she's an enemy soldier, but she seems like the kind of person that Kirk would have an actual conversation with if they were friendly captains.
Yeah. Yeah.
An agreeable person is all I'm getting at.
Yeah. And Spock respects that in her. And I just really like seeing that. So we learned that Kirk has stolen the cloaking device. They go after them. The Romulan commander knows that Spock has betrayed her, and he requests the one last thing to that is required by Romulan ways, I guess.
Yeah.
That he's allowed to give one last sort of statement, a will and testament, if you will, whatever.
Right.
And he's like, I will need 20 minutes for it.
At least.
At least. And so we do this really quick cut. We come back to Spock for the first time because he starts giving a statement. We cut over to Scotty installing the cloaking device. Then we come back to Spock, and the implication is that those 20 minutes have gone by already.
Or most of them.
Yeah, most of it was alright, sure, it still sounds like he's in the beginning of his thing, but I guess Spock really wouldn't change his intonation in his statement, I suppose.
It would come off as flat-toned as everything else does.
Yeah, the commander can tell that Spock is being beamed back aboard the Enterprise, so she clings on to him, and they both get beamed onto the Enterprise. They install the cloaking device in time. They're able to get away from the Romulans by turning to the left, and it's really fucking funny. And then we get this really, really great, profound scene that I don't know. I always think back to The Naked Time, which was the 4th episode of the show.
I know. I often think back to The Naked Time.
I think of that.
Sometimes.
I didn't realize just how important that episode was in my mind, specifically for Spock's character in that scene with Nurse Chapel way back when. Mm-hmm. And we have that, and we see that, and we see that Spock is not incapable of feeling things. He just denies it in himself.
Right. It's an active choice he seems to constantly be making.
Yeah, and so the scene between him and the commander at the end is just really important for that. And then we ended our last little zinger. McCoy's like, Kirk, get down here, we're gonna lob off your fucking ears, whatever. And he goes down. And they don't play that big triumphant music that they play at the end of each episode. Because everyone's sort of laughing, but you focus on Spock a lot in that moment. The camera stays on him, and you just get this feeling of immense sadness from his character that oh man, I feel for the guy.
Right, because ultimately this episode shows a military victory.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a great personal loss for Spock.
Yeah.
He was able to find someone he could connect to, if not fleetingly.
Yeah.
And it's removed.
Yeah.
Simply because, he did trick her.
Yeah.
The feelings she was feeling, gone.
Yeah. But that was the Enterprise incident, and wow, it was good. Yeah, I absolutely loved that. I guess that about does it. I can't believe like season 3 gave us such a great episode, like almost right out the gate. I feel like they really had to make up for it with coming off of Spock's brain.
But they couldn't do this one first because it'd give us all false hope.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. I guess that about does it. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to join us next week when we continue Star Trek: The Original Series. Until then, this has been Joey Morgan.
Jacob.
Goodbye.